So advantages and disadvantages of written contracts, proper documentation. So at least it will be clear. The terms and conditions of employment will be clear. Later on, if there will be any dispute, it can be used as evidence. Uh, it can be used as evidence, let's say, for example, in the NLRC or in the courts. At least you will be amply protected if the contract is written properly or it's complete. Another advantage is the ability to control former employees' acts even after the employment has been severed. Now, we made mention earlier of specific provisions you may include. So the purpose of let's say the confidentiality clause, non-compete clause, non-solicitation clause, and non-recruitment clause, these clauses can actually remain in force even after the employer-employee relationship has ended. So um, the non-compete, non-solicitation, and non-recruitment clause, somehow this is taken on a case-to-case basis, but uh, I've seen cases say that these are valid as long as these are limited as to the place and time. So as to time, I've seen it being validated for a period of 2 years. I haven't seen cases that have extended to more than 2 years, but these have been um, held as valid. So you can actually control the acts of former employees. Another advantage will be if there's a provision in your employment contract which has been violated, you can already specify liquidated damages. So it's, what do I say? If you, let's say, for example, you violate the confidentiality clause, you revealed company secrets, you can already say that any violation of the contract, you will be made to pay, for example, 100,000 pesos. This is just an example. So you no longer have to prove how much you suffered in terms of damage. You just say, this is the provision. The employee agreed to this one, and he also agreed to pay damages in this amount. Okay. Another a disadvantage of this one is, of course, when there's proper documentation, um, you're also tied to the written provisions of the contract. So if you say to the employee that so and so, and then there will be a disagreement between the both of you, you're tied. When I said earlier that the document can be used as evidence, please consider that it can also be used as an evidence against you in case that there will be any dispute and there's a provision that's in favor of the employee. Okay, and then in case, another disadvantage is in case there may be ambiguities. What do I say? There are certain provisions that are unclear in the contract. Please remember that in the labor code, any ambiguity is resolved in favor of labor. And then another one is in the civil code. There's a concept of contracts of adhesion. What is a contract of adhesion? It is a contract that's purely made by one party. So usually when we have employment contracts, these are forms, pre-made forms made by the employer or the HR, and then all the employee has to do is to sign it. So if there's any ambiguity there, um, it's strictly construed against the person who drafted it. So there's a big chance that the person who drafted it is from the side of the employer.